everybody, and welcome back to Tunes Reviews. Today we are going to be discussing sex and gender in fragrance and whether or not it is just a complete and utter marketing ploy. Stay tuned. So just a little tidbit of history for you before we get started. Way back when there was kings and knights in shining armor, it was only the most aristocratic, namely kings, especially at first, it was only kings, that had the luxury of possessing something like a scented glove. Now, what kind of scent might you ask a king would wear on his scented glove? Well, lots of florals. Orange blossom, for example, was very popular. So how do we go from a king in the Dark Ages who would spend their time taking over other territories and mostly just kind of wreaking havoc? I mean, there were some that didn't. Wearing florals, of all things, these very, very masculine kings wearing florals, to today where we have these arguments amongst ourselves, mostly folk in Facebook forums, etc. Not really any of us that actually review fragrances. This doesn't really happen amongst us. I just want to throw that out there. If you were to discuss fragrance with someone like myself, or Maddie from Cascade Scents, or Ashton from Gent Scents, we would all tell you exactly what I'm about to tell you. It is a marketing ploy. It is a social construct that has somehow taken over that men are to smell and behave the way society says, and women are to behave and to smell the way society says. Now, this is all based on basic economy and the structure of the economy and marketing. It really has nothing to do with the psychology of gender and sex. You see, when we're children, it's actually boys that are a lot more needy and women that are a lot more of the survivalist type. So it's just interesting that even going against the grain of our biology and how we are to function inherently is all due to society and its structure. But that is an enormous topic, and we're only here to discuss fragrance and why I think you, men, and you, women, and any of you out there that just consider yourselves as being non-binary and want to just go with the flow and do your own thing. Wear what you like. Wear what makes you happy. Wear what defines you and your personality traits, your characteristics, your mannerisms, the way you dress, the mood you're in. Let's take something like Givenchy Gentleman Boisé, okay? Gentleman Boisé. So because it says gentleman on it, does that mean that it's masculine? Because I'm here to tell you, this is incredibly unisex. It's spicy, it's irisy, it's got a little cacao in there, and a little bit of woods. I mean, the Boisé is a little misleading. It's really not that woody. However, if it didn't say the word gentleman on it, then you, us, you know, people that want to purchase fragrance, wouldn't know better. If we were to do a blind sniff test on whether or not this fragrance is masculine or feminine, you might actually end up saying it's more feminine. You see, for me, it's interesting because in the world of niche, there really is very little marketing that has to do with sex and gender. It really has to do with the art of it, for the most part. I mean, stepping away from fragrance houses like Creed or Bond Number 9 or even Amouage, because those have become very, very popular, almost in the way of a lot of their fragrances are almost designer-esque, but even they don't really market as like for him, for her. Well, that's not true. Amouage does. But Creed, a little bit. Amouage does do that, which there's tons of Amouage fragrances that are for women or for men that, you know, either one could wear. Sunshine Woman, for example, I think is far superior than Sunshine Man, and I rock the shit out of it and I love it. Very good fragrance. But it's funny to me because even something like this, Tom Ford Tuscan Leather, right? Now, most people would consider this to be a masculine scent. There's no marketing for this to be a male or female's fragrance. It's a private blend fragrance. That's it. Doesn't say for men or for women on the label. It's Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather Eau de Parfum 50 ml. That's what it is, okay? And it's up to you as the consumer to decide whether or not you want to smell like rugged leather and raspberry, which I sure as hell do because it's phenomenal. Or something like the wonderful Strangers Parfumery Burning Ben. To me, for my personal taste, I find this to be a very rugged fragrance. Now, for some people that might translate to be very masculine. It's very musky, it's very animalic, it has coffee, espresso specifically, and musks and spices. And to me, it's very, very rugged. It's like picturing being outside wearing a flannel, cutting up some wood in the middle of God knows where, New Brunswick. And it's so good. It's so good. This is my favorite Strangers fragrance, by the way, if you've looked into the brand. But a lot of people would be uncomfortable wearing this fragrance if they don't like what people would consider to be masculine fragrances. However, yet again, we're talking niche. There's nothing on here that says it's for women or it's for men. It's just, do you like the fragrance? Does it make you happy? Does it encompass who you are? Then wear it. Again, another example of how it's so interesting to me that marketing plays such a pivotal role in what it is that we decide that we're comfortable with or not wearing. This is Dior's Homme Intense, okay? By the way, this is the new formulation and it's phenomenal, okay? I am a complete fan, a complete and utter fan of the original formulation with the silver ring. A couple bottles of that, went through a couple bottles of it. Was kind of a stickler about not trying the newer formulations of Dior, Homme, and Intense, but finally I gave in and it's phenomenal, so whatever. But either way, here we are. Dior Homme Intense would be considered very feminine to a lot, and in fact it was deemed a metrosexual scent for the longest time. 10 years ago when this was very first reviewed by Hyro, and then of course it absolutely bombarded Fricom. Everyone had to get a bottle. There were so many people that were uncomfortable with how this smelled because they considered it to be feminine. I love this shit. I mean, iris, dense. There's super dense vanilla. It's got some cocoa. It's just so incredibly good. Carrot seed. But because it says Homme on the bottle, Dior Homme, Dior Man, a lot more people are going to be comfortable with purchasing the fragrance, even though this is completely unisex. Completely. I have never smelled a more unisex fragrance in all of my fragrance journey than Dior Homme, okay? People give way to the labels. Let's not just go ahead and put ourselves in a confined little box. We're human beings with lots of thoughts, and I hope that we can provoke thought and provoke discussion and perspective, and then we can grow and learn and break out of these little boxes. And finally, I would like to give you an example of a fragrance that I, in my personal life, had been given shit for wearing on one occasion, only one occasion. A joke, a miniature, tiny little joke. It's not like I took it super seriously, but it's harmful to the narrative, right? It plays into the narrative that there are specific gender roles and there are specific ways that we are supposed to conduct ourselves as men and women or non-binary folks in the world. And at the end of the day, if you're being a decent human being and you're not infringing upon anybody's happiness, then I really think you should just live life the way that you want to. And labels, that's just such a man-made construct that is unnecessary for marketing and capitalism. But this fragrance right here is something that I was kind of poked fun at for wearing because it has quite a bit of florals in it. And I mean, this person enjoyed the fragrance on me. He was just more or less trying to get a rise out of me, thinking that I would actually react, but I didn't. This is Guerlain's, let's see here, upside down. Guerlain's Angelique Noir, okay? Guerlain, they know how to make a wonderful vanilla gourmand fragrance. Now, arguably, most people would consider them to be feminine. I believe that these fragrances, Tonka Imperial, Angelique Noir, Spiritueuse Double Vanille, Kier Beluga, are some of the most phenomenal fragrances I've ever tried, and some of the most pivotal that I've tried in my fragrance journey. Namely, Angelique Noir, which is in my top 10 favorites ever, and makes me feel so sexy, so fucking sexy. I cannot tell you how good I feel about myself, how bold I feel, how just confident I feel wearing Angelique Noir out, dressed up, semi-formal or in a suit. I absolutely love it. I just radiate confidence when I wear it. And that is exactly the point that I'm trying to make. There is no such thing as gendered scent. I'm not here to just create conflict amongst the narrative of how things are socially shifting as far as the acceptance of people being able to live their lives comfortably, healthy, happily, with being gay or bisexual or pansexual or gender fluid or whatever the case is, because those are all wonderful things that are happening. This is an issue that has been long before the shift anyways. This has been an issue since marketing. Who here is going to tell you really in your personal life, you know what, you can't wear a fragrance that has lily in it, or you can't wear a classic aldehydic Chanel fragrance, or you can't wear, if you're female or consider yourself to be among the more feminine type, you can't wear a woodsy oud fragrance, or you can't wear a heavily spiced fragrance such as Oud Wood by Tom Ford, or Tobacco Vanille or something like that, or a Tuscan Leather that people might consider to be more masculine. No one's gonna tell you that. No one in their right mind is gonna come up to you and say, you smell like a fucking dude if you're a woman, or, you know, you smell like a fucking daisy. Like, it's just, it's not gonna happen. It's stupid. It's dumb. It is our own issue, our own internalized narrative that we've conducted and constructed throughout our existence since we were probably little kids, and these little seeds are planted in our head of how we're supposed to behave and conduct ourselves throughout our existence. And it's not fair. It's not fair. I'm here to tell you, this is a hobby you're supposed to enjoy. It's a hobby you're supposed to enjoy, and you're supposed to gain some kind of happiness, and it's supposed to provoke some kind of thought and release some serotonin. So how are we supposed to enjoy ourselves if we're gonna sit there thinking that people are constantly judging us based on what it is that we're experiencing? Now, what if you, a viewer out there, tried something like Naso Mato Baronda and you thought that it was too masculine? You were afraid that your friends were gonna make fun of you for wearing that fragrance, but you thought it was the best thing you ever tried, and you miss out on buying it, and it could become your signature scent, and it makes you happy, and it's part of your scent bubble, and you create memories revolving around the fragrance. Or vice versa, what if you love something like Dame Blonde, and all of a sudden you miss out on buying a bottle, and you could have created and cultivated all these wonderful experiences, enjoying life. Maybe you just had a newborn, or you're going to get married or whatever, and you wanted to wear that fragrance, but you were too afraid of what someone might say to you. Like, let's just cut the bullshit. Let people wear whatever they want. It doesn't exist. It's all in our own heads. With that, I want you all to know that you are loved, that people care about you, that what you have to say is important, and we all have a purpose in this life, and we shouldn't let things like this that are so minute take over, room in our brains, and create negativity when it is completely unnecessary. Enjoy your journey and enjoy your life. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.